Hello, my friends. Welcome back to English Unleashed. I'm Tom. Today, I want to take you into a very interesting book called The Prodigal Tongue by Lynn Morphy. This book is different from the other books we studied together. It is about English itself. It is about how people speak it, how people change it, and how people sometimes argue about it. Before we start, let me explain the title in very simple English. The word prodigal means someone who goes far away, changes a lot, and then sometimes surprises the people at home when they come back. The tongue in the title means language. So, the prodigal tongue is a fun way of saying English is a language that has traveled far away, changed in many places, and now looks different from the English that stayed home. It is like English went on a long trip around the world and learned many new things. That is the meaning of the title, and that is what this whole book is about. This book is about the two most famous types of English in the world: British English and American English. The author is American, but she has lived in the UK for many years. Because of this, she understands both cultures very well, and she sees how people in the UK and the US sometimes misunderstand each other's English. The author explains why English is not one single perfect language. It is a language that changes in every country, every city, and sometimes in every family. English is spoken in many ways. Some people speak very formally. Some people speak very casually. Some people use American words, and some people use British words. Some people mix both, and all of this is okay. As an English learner, this book is very helpful for you because it shows that there is no one correct English. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to copy a native speaker exactly. You only need to communicate clearly. You only need to express your ideas in a way that people understand. We will go through this book chapter by chapter, slowly and clearly, so you understand every idea. I will speak in simple English at the beginning, and then, little by little, we move into slightly more advanced English. This slow and gentle change helps your brain grow. It keeps you comfortable, but it also gives you new vocabulary and new grammar in a natural way. Let's begin. All right. In chapter 1, the author talks about a very common misunderstanding. Many people believe there is only one real English. Some say British English is the correct English because English started in England. Some say American English is better because it is spoken by more people. Some say other types of English are wrong or strange. But this idea is a myth. A myth is a story that people believe even when it is not really true. The author explains that English has never been one perfect, unchanging language. English has always changed. It changed 100 years ago. It changed 200 years ago. It changed 500 years ago, and it is still changing today. Every time English moves to a new place, it changes a little. Imagine English is like a river. A river flows from one place to another. The water is always moving. When the river moves, it touches different rocks, different land, and different plants. Every place makes the river a little different. English is the same. When English travels to America, to Canada, to India, to Africa, to Australia, it picks up new words and new styles. So, British English and American English are not better or worse. They are like two different parts of the same river. They are connected, but they are not identical. Identical means exactly the same. For English learners, this chapter gives a very important message. You do not need to speak one perfect English, because perfect English does not exist. Instead, you only need to speak clearly. You only need to make meaning. If people understand you, your English is working. The author also explains that people sometimes feel proud of their own English style. British people may say American English sounds too casual or too loud. American people may say British English sounds too formal or too old-fashioned. But these opinions come from culture, not from rules. The language is not wrong. It is simply different. Here are some easy examples of these differences. In the UK, people say flat. In the US, people say apartment. In the UK, people say holiday. In the US, people say vacation. In the UK, people say trousers. In the US, people say pants. None of these words are wrong. Each word fits its own culture. So, English belongs to everyone who speaks it, including you. You don't need to copy one country's style perfectly. Your English can grow naturally in a way that feels right for your life. All right, in Chapter 2, the author talks about something very funny and, of course, human. British people and American people like to judge each other's English. The word judge means to form an opinion, sometimes a strong opinion. This is usually about someone or something. When it comes to English, people have strong opinions. British people sometimes think American English sounds too direct or too emotional. Americans use big positive words such as awesome, amazing, fantastic. They use these words almost every day. In the UK, these words sound a bit strong. But this is not a mistake. It is simply how Americans speak. Americans, on the other hand, sometimes think British English sounds too polite or too complicated. British English sometimes uses polite hints. Hints are soft suggestions. Americans may find this confusing because they prefer more direct sentences. Now, the author explains that when people judge language, they are usually not judging the language. They are judging the culture behind the language. Language and culture are connected. They grow together. This is why two languages from the same family can sound so different. For English learners, this chapter is extremely important. Many learners ask, should I learn British English or American English? Which one is correct? Which one is the best? What if I mix both? The author answers very clearly. Both are correct. Both are English. Both are understood around the world. What matters is communication. What matters is being understood. The chanter also shows that British and American people often tease each other. Tease means to make jokes in a friendly way. For example, Americans might joke about British politeness. British people might joke about American enthusiasm. But these jokes are usually friendly. They are part of cultural humor. The problem is, learners sometimes feel stressed when they hear these jokes. They think the jokes mean something serious, like, my English must be wrong. But no. The jokes are between native speakers. They are not instructions for you. They are not rules. They are just jokes. Finally, the author explains that sometimes people judge each other because they feel a little insecure about their own language. Insecure means not fully confident. So judging someone else makes them feel stronger. But this has nothing to do with learners. It is just human behavior. The main message of this chapter is simple. Do not worry when native speakers judge each other's English. You do not need to choose a side. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to speak clearly and kindly, and people will understand you. Okay, now we move on to chapter 3. In this chapter, the author talks about something that confuses many learners. English is always changing. Words change. Pronunciation changes. Grammar changes. Even the style of speaking changes. All of this change is normal. The author wants to show us that English is not a still object. It is not a rock. It does not stay the same. English is like a living thing. It grows. It moves. It reacts to the world. Now, why does English change? The author gives many reasons, and I will explain them in very easy English with examples. People change, so language changes. People today do not live the same life as people 100 years ago. Our jobs are different. Our technology is different. Our daily habits are different. Because life changes, language also changes. For example, 200 years ago, there were no smartphones. There was no internet. So people had no words like download, email, selfie, or Wi-Fi. These words are new because our life created them. The next point is that English spreads across the world. English is spoken in the UK, in the US, in Canada, in Australia, New Zealand, India, South Africa, and many other places. Each place has its own culture, climate, history, and people. So each country changes English a little. For example, in American English, people say cookie. In British English, people say biscuit. In British English, people say lorry. In American English, people say truck. In some parts of India, people use English words in different ways because of local languages. So English changes because speakers are different. The other point is that young people change language faster. Young people like new words. They like fun words. They like short words. For example, many young people say, that movie was lit. Lit means very good or exciting. So young people create new expressions all the time. Some stay, some disappear. Older people sometimes complain and say, young people are ruining English, but this is not true. It is the same thing older generations said 200 years ago. Young people are not ruining English. They are renewing it. Renewing means giving it new life. The next point is that language change happens slowly, like the weather. Some changes are big and obvious. Some changes are small and quiet. The author says language change is like weather change. Every day, the weather is a little different, but you do not notice every small change. For example, the word nice used to mean foolish or silly hundreds of years ago. Now it means kind or pleasant. The meaning changed slowly over time. But is language change a problem? The author says clearly, no. Language change is not a problem. It is natural. It is healthy. It shows that people are using English in real life. Some people think language change is bad. They say people are using English incorrectly. They are destroying the language. But the author explains that these feelings come from fear or nostalgia. Nostalgia means a warm feeling about the past, even if the past was not perfect. People sometimes feel that the English of their childhood was the right English. But the English of their childhood was also a changed English from the generation before them. So language change is old. Language change is constant. Language change never stops. This chapter is extremely helpful for English learners because it teaches you something important. You will hear many different forms of English. You will hear different accents. You will hear different vocabulary. You will hear new expressions. You will hear old expressions, and all of this is normal. You do not need to panic. You do not need to fix English. You do not need to choose one perfect version. Instead, you can enjoy English as a living language, as a growing language, a language that welcomes new words. For example, if you learn flat and apartment, that is good. If you learn holiday and vacation, that is good. If you learn autumn and fall, that is also good. The more forms you know, the stronger your English becomes. It is like having more tools in your toolbox. Now, you may ask, why does English change faster now? The author explains that English changes faster today because of technology. Before the internet, language spread slowly. Now, language spreads in seconds. People on social media invent new words every month. People use emojis instead of phrases. People shorten words. People mix languages freely. English is now part of a global conversation. The speed is faster. The creativity is bigger. The change is constant. As a learner, this is exciting. It means you are learning a language that is alive and active. You are part of a moving story. Okay, now the author talks about something very funny and very normal. American English speakers and British English speakers sometimes misunderstand each other, even though they are speaking the same language. The author explains that this happens for many reasons. But the good news is that these misunderstandings teach us something very important about English. And they also help you as an English learner feel more relaxed. Because if native speakers misunderstand each other, then of course, learners will also face these moments. It is completely normal. Let's go step by step in simple English with clear examples. The first point is about, in English, some words exist in both British and American English, but they have different meanings. When this happens, people can easily misunderstand each other. For example, in American English, pants means the clothing you wear on your legs. In British English, pants often means underwear. So imagine an American saying, "I love your pants." A British person might feel confused or embarrassed, but the American speaker only meant, "I like your trousers." Here is another example. In British English, chips means fried potato sticks. In British English, chips means fried potato sticks, what Americans call fries. In American English, chips means the snack in a bag, what British people call crisps. These small differences create misunderstandings, but they are not problems. They are just examples of how English grows differently in different places. Now, this chapter teaches something very comforting. If native speakers misunderstand each other, you do not need to be afraid of misunderstanding English. It is normal. It is part of communication. It happens to everyone. Here is what this means for your learning. Misunderstandings are not your fault. Misunderstandings happen even between native speakers. Misunderstandings help you learn faster. You can relax and enjoy English more. You do not need to speak perfectly. You only need to keep practicing. Okay, in the next chapter, the author talks about another interesting point. People feel strong emotions about English. They are not only speaking a language, they are also expressing their identity, their pride, their culture, and their feelings about home. Because language is emotional, people sometimes react strongly when they hear a different version of English, especially when the version comes from another country. Now, let's explore this idea step by step in simple English. The author explains that language is not only a tool for communication, it is part of our identity. Identity means who we feel we are inside. For example, a British person grew up speaking British English. Their childhood, school life, jokes, memories, and feelings are all connected to British English. An American person grew up speaking American English. Their emotions, habits, and culture are inside the language they use every day. So, when people hear a different kind of English, they sometimes feel uncomfortable. They may think, "This is not how I say it. That sounds strange to me. This is not the English I know." They are not trying to be rude. They are protecting the language that feels like home. People often think their own English is normal and other English is different. This is a very common idea. Human beings like what they know. It feels safe. It feels familiar. So if you grow up in the UK, British English feels like the normal version. If you grow up in the US, American English feels like the normal version. If you grow up in Canada or Australia, your English feels normal too. Anything different can feel strange or surprising at first. This is natural. It happens in all languages, not only in English. Imagine you speak Arabic, Persian, or Spanish. Different countries have different accents and words. People often say, our version is the correct one. But every version belongs to someone. English is the same. Okay, my friends, and that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for staying with me and listening so patiently. This book is special because it teaches us something very comforting and very important about learning English. There is no one correct English. There is only the English that helps you communicate. This book showed us that English is big, it is wide, it is full of different voices, different accents, different words, different styles. And all of it is real, all of it is alive, all of it belongs to the world. You may not speak like a British person. You may not speak like an American person. You may not speak like a native speaker at all. But that does not mean your English is wrong. It means your English is part of the living English that we use today. Every time you learn a new word, you join the history of English. Every time you understand a joke, a movie, a sentence, or a conversation, you connect with millions of people around the world. So, you do not need to choose one right English, okay? You do not need to be afraid of mistakes, and you only need to keep learning, keep listening, keep noticing, and keep growing. I'm Tom, and this is English Unleashed. Bye for now.